Hi, I'm Paulette Lambert in the Wellness Kitchen at the California Health and Longevity Institute. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite one-pot meals. We're going to be making Mexican meatball soup. This is so simple, so easy, but really yummy. We have our ground turkey that we're going to make into small meatballs. We've got brown rice, corn, and a lot of vegetables to make it super healthy. And we have cilantro that's going to bring out that great Mexican flavor. This is going to be a family favorite. Let's get started. I have our 1 pound of white meat organic ground turkey. And to that, I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of cornmeal. I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of cumin, which is a Southwest spice. It's going to give this a great Mexican flavor. I'm adding 2 egg whites, and you can use 1 egg, but we added 2 egg whites to lower the fat and lower the cholesterol. And that's going to help bind our meatballs together. And about a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper and a 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. And we're just going to mix this all together. This is going to make our meatballs. The cornmeal gives it a great Mexican Southwest flavor too. You know, most time when you make meatballs or meatloaf, we use breadcrumbs, but the cornmeal gives us really that more Southwest flavor. All right, that looks like it's ready to go. And we can make our meatballs here. But before we start that, I think I'm going to just start my onions browning. So in our soup pot over medium heat, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil. There we go. And I'm adding a tablespoon of garlic, sizzling hot. And I'm adding 1 medium onion, well chopped. We'll just let that brown for a few minutes. And let's come over here and finish our meatballs. And you don't want to make these too big because we're going to cook these meatballs right in the soup, so we want them to cook relatively quickly. So just about 1 inch in diameter. And just line them up on this sheet here. Looks like our onions and our garlic is doing great in the pot. And when you buy turkey, make sure you buy the white meat because it's going to be the leanest with the least amount of saturated fat, which is the animal fat that causes more elevation of cholesterol and more heart disease. So make sure you're buying really, really lean white meat of turkey. And there we go. We have lots of meatballs here. And there we go. All right, we can put these aside while we finish working on our soup over here. I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin, again, the same Mexican spice that we used in the meatballs. And adding it at this stage allows it to heat up and release all the flavor that's in that dried spice. And this is a teaspoon of oregano and a teaspoon of dried basil. To that, we're going to be adding 1 15-ounce can of chopped tomatoes. And tomatoes, that bright red color we just put in here, are very high in lycopene. And lycopene is an antioxidant that is really, really, really important in prevention of cancer. Cooked tomato products are actually a higher source of that antioxidant than they are when they're fresh. So it's good to eat cooked tomatoes in your food. And also to that, we're going to add our cup of carrots, high in beta carotene, another antioxidant. We're going to be adding our celery. And we're going to be adding our chicken broth. And I have organic, reduced sodium, fat-free chicken broth. And we need about 6 cups. That's about 1.5 boxes. Soup cooking here. We're going to need some heat. And we're going to be adding a can of rinsed and drained black beans. And by the way, beans are very high in protein. As I said, we could add more beans and leave the turkey meatballs out if you'd like to make this totally vegetarian. But we can also think of them as healthy carbohydrate foods. Beans have a lot of fiber, unlike white rice and white pasta and so many of the refined carbohydrates we eat. Beans are a really great fiber source and really good source of water-soluble fiber that lowers cholesterol. Our cup of frozen corn. And we're just going to let this come to a boil, and then we'll be adding our meatballs to this. We're not going to add our zucchini until the very end. Zucchini is a Mexican squash, and it doesn't take very long to cook it. And because we don't want it mushy in here, we want it still a little bit of crispness to it, we're going to add that when all the meatballs and everything's done. We'll add it the last minute and just cook it for 2 minutes. So we'll just set that aside for now. While we're waiting for that to boil, I'm going to chop some fresh cilantro. And cilantro is an herb that's used a lot in Mexican or Southwest cooking. It's also an herb that's very high in antioxidants. Oh, it smells so good. Between the cumin in there and the cilantro here, we definitely are going to be having a Southwest meal tonight. Yeah, we're ready. So you can just drop your meatballs into that boiling liquid. Carefully set them right in there. They're going to poach in there, and it's going to make them very tender with a lot of flavor. We don't really need to brown them in the oil. This is a soup. They're going to be in the soup anyway, and it's going to really give the soup a lot of flavor, cooking them right in the soup. We don't lose all the juices and throw them out in the pan and then add the meatballs. And we'll just let that simmer for about 20 minutes because we want those meatballs to make sure they're cooked all the way through. And then as soon as that's done, we can add our zucchini. Let's put our lid on and just let this simmer for a few minutes. Turn down the heat so it doesn't boil rapidly because we don't want it to break apart our meatballs. Let's check and see if our meatballs are done yet. Oh, beautiful. So what we have here is our soup. They're done. They float to the top. Oh, it looks so good. So now that this is all completed and done, I'm going to be adding our 2 zucchini. This is a great vegetable to add to any Mexican dishes. And again, because it's a soft vegetable and it's kind of a tendency to get soggy if you overcook it, we're just going to leave it in here for a few minutes and let that cook. Also, if you like your soup spicier, you can use a few drops of like pepper sauce in your soup. You could also chop 1 fresh jalapeno chili or part of a jalapeno chili to give it a little bit more heat if you like your Mexican meatball soup with a little kick. Well, let's see if that's done. I think it's going to be. Oh, perfect. We really only need to serve about 2 meatballs per person because we have the beans in here for vegetarian protein too. And we're going to just garnish our plates of soup here with a little bit of our fresh cilantro. And that is our Mexican meatball soup. It is everything that we need to eat for a healthy meal all in one dish. We have our lean protein from our turkey and our beans. We have lots of different vegetables that are high in antioxidants. We have fresh herbs that are high in antioxidants. And we have black beans and corn for healthy high fiber carbohydrate. I bet this is going to taste wonderful. Oh, it's so good. It has so much flavor. I'm getting the spiciness of the spices, the cumin and the cilantro in here along with the onions, and then we've got all the vegetables. This is a wonderful one-dish meal, really, really tasty, really healthy, and very easy. This is Paulette Lambert from the Wellness Kitchen, where everything's nutritious and always delicious.